In this lesson, we're going to be editing the rest of the upper level, this time working on the master suite as well as the bathroom that is behind in this area here. So the first thing you want to do with these type of edits is you want to start by clearing space of all those things that you don't need. So I'm just going to start deleting everything. So the shortcut there is E-enter, and I'm just going to work on the rest once I have a clearer slate to work with. You can also remember that there are certain portions of your drawing that would be quite interesting to leave behind so that you at least see a reference to them in the lower levels. And the main thing there would be the columns. So right now I'm just going to start deleting all these different portions. I'm going to delete this line, extend it all the way down to the original line down there. And I can also then start renaming this, but I'll leave it there for now since I will rename it to something. So instead of deleting that, I will rather wait until I know what I'm going to call it. And I'm going to now delete this. And deleting all these lines as well will help. Before I delete this line, what I'd like to do from this glazing line is I'd like to have at least 1.5 meters of an overhang so that I get good protection from sun on all of this living space that I have directly below. So before deleting that, let's type O enter and 155 or 1500, and then I can go ahead and delete that line. So now I have the slab edge that will be the edge of the upper level slab that the bedroom will look out over. So the other thing that you can do once this entire edge is complete, for example, this slab edge will go all the way to the end here. We'll go right down to the bottom of this level. I'm just going to offset this by 300 millimeters so that we also have a slight difference. So I don't have the two levels directly on top of each other. I'm going to trim the extents, or at least the excess portion off, and then fillet this together and change that back to a gray color. Next I can delete this as well, and the rest of all of this can be a number 9 color so that it is very light, since it is happening quite in the distance. I can edit this tiny detail here with how this wall is going to turn up and convert into this slab on top, but I'm not going to worry about that now. It's not too important. Editing this is quite easy. It's just a sort of a design revision. What I'm going to focus on is the main area around the bedroom now. So I'm going to continue by deleting more of these walls. I can even delete this construction line since that wall is not really that relevant to me anymore. I'm going to just continue with all of this deletion. Now before I delete this part, I can see from the sketch that there is a type of sliding door happening between the private lounge that there is upstairs linking the stairway and the bedroom area. So I'm going to keep this but move it to the side so that I can just go and edit it once I get the chance to start working on that portion. The other thing that is happening upstairs is that I'm going to pull this facade slightly back, but keeping that exterior line, which is this one, which is going to basically denote the edge of that slab where that slab will drop off down into the garden. So I'm going to move all of this by 1.5 meters, and I'm going to leave this empty. What that space is for is to create an upper level garden that will provide more privacy for the bathroom area. Now I can also start moving these walls around since these walls are not really that necessary. Let's start by pulling all of these green walls back down to the area where this wall is happening. Then I can create another line which is a continuation of this slab, except for the fact that it's going to be trimmed somewhere along this portion, and it is now going to be filleted, so F enter, and connected with this wall. I can also just delete that portion and re-extend that. And over here, the other thing I can do is I can now continue that slab all the way to there and wrap that slab around. So according to the line thicknesses, this slab here will be slightly thicker in line thickness and this will be slightly thinner, showing that this is basically slightly further lower down, even though the top of the roof could be quite close to this level. It'll only have about a meter of difference. We don't necessarily need to have a 4-meter high garage. So this will be slightly higher than that, and I'm just going to match properties here. And then there will also be a slight planter edge. We must remember that the planter will have at least about a 600 millimeter thickness to it, so we need to counter that thickness into the design once we are looking at sections and all of those finer details. But for now, I'm just going to leave that edge there, as I know that there is going to be a fill of planting. Now, the main role of that planting is obviously privacy, so that we get a more exclusive nature around this bedroom. We want to get plants, we want to get sunlight coming in, we want to have maximum openness, but also that feeling of not being completely exposed to everything happening around. So now I can start deleting more of these objects, but before I delete everything, I also need to start thinking where my new glazing line is going to be. Now, the current sketch is showing me that I have a solid wall here as well, so I'm going to keep that solid wall there. I have a lower table happening along this entire length, and then this portion is going to be a walk-in cupboard with full height cupboards or full height dressing area. And then back here I have a double sink, I have a bath, I have a shower and a toilet back in these corners, just with glass edges. So all of these internals we're going to start looking at once we get to the furniture layout stage of this course. For now, what I want to do is I just want to define where this window or glazing line is going to be. And what I can start doing is I can now rotate and move this sliding door into place. So I'm going to rotate this door by 90 degrees. And I'm going to move this into place. And I can also start measuring the distance of the sliding door and just see whether that is going to be sufficient. So the way to do that would be to first find out what distance you would like to have in your sliding door. You need to first of all see whether your toilet will fit, and a lot of these things are going to be edited along the way. But I do know that I don't need too much space within this, so I can also see whether working with a center line will be a good idea. The first thing I want to do before I determine that center line is I want to mirror this facade across to this side. So I'm going to do so, and just before I do that, I'm also going to copy this wall across so that I have that same type of rectilinear facade happening on the upper level. So I'm going to now press MI enter, and I'm mirroring all of this around the central construction line that we have running right through the entrance hall. So this glazing line is also going to move, and we don't necessarily need to have it opening in this fashion, since we are going to have this overhang with the planter right up till here, and only from there on do we need to have an openable area. So this will be opening and this will be solid. So to indicate that, what we can do is we can move all of this down off the plan, and we can rotate it by minus 90 degrees, and I can copy one of those leaves, and I could have actually copied this before I rotated it, but it doesn't really matter, I just rotate it back. And I'm going to now add a window frame that I'm just copying the size of, moving it into place, rotating it, and basically getting it lined up on this facade, either center to center, or we can line it up in a similar way that we have other glazing lined up. So we can just have a look and try and understand what that language is. I'm going to move it right back to here, use a similar line type, so match properties, and then just go and copy that across. Instead of working with this underlay, I more or less understand where my glazing line is, so I can go and turn off this image underlay, and I'm just going to continue with this glazing line off camera before the next lesson, it's basically exactly what we had done with all of the other glazing on the previous exercises. So right now, in this lesson, what we've done is we've started by clearing away all of those portions that we definitely don't need, and then we started by recreating those portions that we do need, trying to always remember to keep, copy, mirror all those portions that we had from other parts of the design to save time and work faster.